The next fight that we've got on the Dana White's Contender Series night is Caio Borralho, who you guys might recognize from fighting only a few weeks ago on Dana White's Contender Series, and Jesse Murray. And Caio Borralho, a familiar face on Dana White's Contender Series. He fought Aaron Jeffrey 3 weeks ago. I actually picked Aaron Jeffrey to win that fight, and Caio proved me wrong, man, and he won the fight by decision. But he did not get the contract, so he's kind of got another opportunity here to fight only a few weeks later and fight Jesse Murray up a weight class. This fight is taking place at light heavyweight. Caio Borralho is a much more natural 185 pounder, and Jesse Murray's going to be a pretty big dude. He's 6'3", Caio Borralho is 5'10", and he was taller, I believe, than Aaron Jeffrey in his last fight. Caio Borralho, he's got a very good ground game. He has trained alongside Damian Maia, and he does hold a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but in that Dana White's Contender Series fight a few weeks ago, he actually showed decent striking and movement, and we didn't actually see any of his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or grappling background in that one there. Jesse Murray, on the other hand, I would describe him as being more of a more natural light heavyweight. He's going to be a lot bigger than Caio by the time that the fight comes around. It is worth noting that all three of his losses are by knockout, and Caio did show to have pretty decent stand up, in that Dana White's Contender Series fight. And this here is exactly what I'm a little bit worried about is going to happen to Jesse Murray. I think that he's going to get taken down by Caio relatively early in the fight, but it is definitely worth noting that Caio didn't really shoot for any takedowns against Aaron Jeffrey, so we'll see what the game plan is here against a bigger opponent, against a guy upper weight class. But let me just go on about Jesse Murray a bit more. His last two losses have come to a couple of decent opponents, and his last win, which is the fight that I'm showing you now, is to Tim Hiley, who was 7-1 at the time, and that one loss, I believe, was to... Oh no, I can't remember. Sorry guys. I know he was to a top 15 guy in the UFC at the moment anyway. Unfortunately, he has lost a couple of times since then. It was to Brendan Allen. Sorry, I did not remember that. And yeah, he's got a grappling background as well. His striking, I don't think, is as good as Caio Borralho's. I'm going to be brutally honest. He in 2016 he actually won the North American Grappling Association belt, which seems to be a pretty big jiu-jitsu tournament over in America. And so yeah, he's definitely got some sort of background. I couldn't find what belt he had, unfortunately. I wish he did. But yeah, I guess I'm just relatively concerned that Tim Hiley managed to control him on the ground without too much resistance. I do think if Caio can implement the same sort of game plan and somehow manage to get the fight to the ground, I know he's going to be a lot smaller, but I do think that this would probably be in Caio's best interest to have the fight on the ground against a much bigger, much more rangy Jesse Murray. And I think that we will see a submission victory for Caio Borralho, but he could just prove me wrong and not shoot for any takedowns again, even though he's got that grappling experience with Damian Maia. He's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, but we'll see what happens, man. I think that he's going to get the job done by submission, but we could see another decision win as well. I think a lot of people are really writing off Murray in this one here. We've only got 4% picking him. Jesse Murray, man, I mean, he's going to be the bigger guy. I think that's probably that's probably the only thing that he's really got going for him in this one. It's just that he's going to be so much bigger than Caio. He's going to be the more natural 205-pound fighter. I know he fought at 195 in his last one, but Caio is more of a 185 guy. I think he's going to be a lot smaller than Jesse by the time the fight does come around. And it's going to be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see how Caio will look at light heavyweight. I know that if he does get signed to the UFC, he will fight for the middleweight division, but I've got Caio. I think I'm going to pick this submission, even though he didn't even really take down Aaron Jeffrey at all in his last fight, but I still like the grappling credentials that he does have, and I'm still going to back him because of that by a submission.